advise us that a comparison of the written report with the video establishes that the findings were deliberately fudged. We have called doctors under summons to explain why. So all of these powers we exercise from the fullest on civilians. But so far Section 19, in our reading of Section 19, does not permit us to do this, because it's very clear. All we can do is call for a report from the central government. And so therefore, that is why we asked the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court were to interpret Section 19 on the lines that you say, I think we certainly, present members, would be extremely delighted and would take it forward.
May I request Mr. John
Thank you, Justice. I'm supposed to speak on torture and the media, but let me also include in it torture in the public. The media at best or at worst supposedly represents the public and teaches the public.
John, hopeless.
No, can't you?
Try the mic.
Please use the other one. Is this slightly better? I'm a journalist by profession and I've been so for 43 years. But before we discuss police and army and the BSF, let's have a closer look at what happens to the public. I saw the mass outrage on the issue of rape in this country. And what was the popular slogan? It wasn't to catch them and try them, it was hang them. And that explains to you the bloodthirst mindset of the people of India. If a petty thief is caught in a colony, the RWA, first of all, the people stand up and beat him up. Sometimes they will lynch him. Then the RWA goes to the police station and practically asks the police station to torture this man and get the truth out of him. We want justice instantly. We want retribution. We want punishment. The instant the crime or the alleged crime takes place. As a people, we are attuned to this absolutely bloodthirsty attitude that we must see justice being done the moment a crime is committed against us. We do not see torture as a crime. We do not see lynching or the beating by common people of a man as a crime. We do ourselves torture our wives, our servants, our parents. There's quite the tradition of life in India at this moment to be okay with torture. It is this okay mentality that permeates and explains why it is not so much in the public domain, why there is no public outcry against torture, why Kirti Roy cries in the wilderness. His emails go to the Prime Minister and the President, but never read them. They come to me, I forward them on to the NCHRO again, without ever organizing a meeting in Delhi or a support group in Delhi to support Kirti Roy's constant plaints against the BSF. We've never done a public meeting in Delhi against BSF, against the ACHR and the army, occasionally. But the BSF and the CRPF go by default. We don't even think of them as instruments of torture in Kashmir or the Bangladesh border or the Rajasthan border. And Rajasthan does not have a Kirti Roy, so we don't even know what is happening at the border from Barmer all the way up to the Punjab. Well, let me come to the media and why is the media so complicit, if not complicit, in torture. when I joined journalism in 1969, and I personally have seen instances of torture. We went to the police station in Daryaganj, which was the office of the then called SP of Central Police. And in one of my forays there, I saw a man hanging on a pole between two chairs. It's a set pattern of you stick him up as a pig or a deer or a goat on a pole hanging between two chairs. And he stays there for hours till the police get some answer out of him as to who stole something or who broke into a house or was cheating or selling tickets in the black at the cinema house or whatever is the crime. This was happening and is happening in every one of the police stations in Delhi, and there is no coverage about it. During the emergency there was torture, and this today, in fact, yesterday and today are the days when we remember the onset of the Indian emergency. Apart from those of us who are praying here, the rest of you were not born. It's more than 35 years ago. The Indian emergency saw torture becoming commonplace. The army, the Air Force also, in areas where the station commanders, the police, the BSF, the CIPF, the ITBP, whoever was in control of any area, whoever was in charge of a group of people, allegedly for the security, but overall a bit of a maiba, indulged in torture. And it was then condoned by the state as something that was necessary to impose the rule of discipline, to ensure that things happened, to ensure that there was law and order. So of course, violation of the law and order became a norm for the implementation of law and order. I think the first time this came into the public domain was when India Today, after the emergency, and India Today, lest you forget, was a magazine launched during the emergency in praise of the government as a headline magazine. That's why it's called India Today. It was supposed to tell you all the nice things that were happening in India that day. But after the emergency, of course, all of us in the media got very brave once the emergency was over. And then India Today brought out a document, a special issue on torture. It's a handbook on torture. Just about everything from mirchi, gori to what have you, bamboos and poles and electric wires and tweezers on the knives, on the nails, and electrodes all over your body. You can imagine the sort of torture that you get in medieval books. Charles Joshi, now dead, he listed them out of talks with all of us and a lot of policemen. And that was when we discovered the extent and the barbarity of how torture was. It is not just somebody raping somebody. Any crime that you can imagine has been done in a police station or an army barrack or a BSF barrack. It is something that has to be seen. We are sitting here, we're 300 yards away from the police station of the special cell of the Delhi police. What goes on in the building in Lodhi Road behind Indian Habitat Center, just next to ISI almost. You will shudder if you get to know what happens there. You've heard of the water torture, you've heard of rubber rollers. That happens all the time. The other day I was in Kashmir on yet another fact-finding trip, which wasn't just sort of downplaying fact-finding things important. We were in Puran Koshipura. With me in the team was Ram E.N. Rammohan. He's a former Director General of the Border Security Force. He's one of the straightforward police officers, a Malayali from Chennai. He told us and he held us in thrall, narrated to us the horror stories that were being done by his people. He says, I gave them direct orders not to indulge in torture. But regardless, they were. He told a story of in Manipur, where there was what is called the indigenous explosive device, IED, on a road planted the previous night, exploded by a radio signal. A military convoy was going on it. The device exploded. Not many were injured. One vehicle was damaged. These people, the army group, went out, fanned out. About 100 yards away, there was a bus stop. 20 people were waiting there for the bus. 10 men, 10 women, including children. The army section and army and BSF moved in a section of 10. They never moved singly as a matter of military regiment and protocol. They went to the police station, they went to the bus stop, segregated the men from the women, and shot 10 men, including a 6-year-old boy. They had nothing to do with the IED. They were waiting for a bus. The IED was planted the previous night. I who traveled in the Northeast over the years as a journalist know what happens there. What happens by torture will go into the villages and shoot at anybody in Kansas. For the last 5 years I've been working in Orissa at the grassroots. Orissa doesn't come into the news at all. What happens there? What happens when a man, because I work with Christians, what happens when a Christian boy is arrested? He is damned as a Marxist, as a Maoist. He's taken to the police station. What happens to him there depends on whether he'll come out and tell or whether he'll come out dead and nobody will ever know. And you would think it is illiterate people who are arrested and tortured. Lawyers, including one of yours, were arrested after Lakshmana Saraswati was killed. They were taken to the police station, held 7 days without anybody else knowing about it. They were chained to their beds. They were tortured. They were so scared of their life that even when they came out, even today, they will confess to you over a drink, but will not lodge a complaint, will not come to a meeting and say, I was tortured. They've been tortured so bad, they've been tortured into silence. And that's sort of limit of torture. This little girl who was crying when she was speaking, these men, at least they've come out and are speaking. Most people don't even dare speak. Lest when they go back, next time they want to be tortured, they'll be killed. Why does the media not report it? That is, 2 of us are here from the media, they're part of the state, they're in absolute cahoots with the police. They may report about torture if it helps a DIG against an SP or something. If it's a power play and they're participating in the power play. Otherwise, the instances that he has narrated of the 1,70,000 cases that have come to the human rights thing, these are reports that have come to the Human Rights Commission directly. Not one of them has been exposed by the media. The media has never. Orissa, I know for a fact, these things are happening today on a daily basis in almost all the police stations in the tribal areas, in the wide search for Maoists. The Orissa media is totally dead. It's in the pay of the police or scared of the police or a part of the government. Apart from the fact that most of the Orissa media, the newspapers and the TV are owned by politicians who run the government, who run the police. So they are part of the process. They are not part of the justice process. They are not part of the fact-finding process. And that is the other aspect of it. Is human rights part of media training? Is it part of the curricula of a very large number of media schools and colleges now sprouting all over the place? The answer is no. Human rights is not taught in media colleges. In fact, it's not taught anywhere else unless it's a subject.